We got what, 4 minutes after? We'll jump into this, and keep in mind that what we're going to do is a lot of information. Honestly, I don't know if we're going to get through all of it today, because I don't want to go over an hour. I just think that an hour is a lot of information, but at the same time, it's really not enough time to go through everything that we need to go through, right? So I'm hoping that this will spark some conversation, and maybe you guys, if you have questions or concerns, reach out to us separately or together or whatever, and we can make this all, we can answer whatever questions you might have. So what we'll do is people are probably going to start joining. We always get a few stragglers that come in a little bit late, and then I get a whole bunch of people who text me and say, I was going to try to get on, but I couldn't get on. But that's okay. We'll just continue to do this, and this will be put up on our YouTube page also, so you guys can refer to it and look at it if there's something you missed. All right, so give me just a second here, and I'm going to get this started, and then we'll go from there, okay? Maybe if I did this right. My kids would be laughing at me right now. James, you get that, don't you?
I get it all the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so basically what we'll do is I'm just going to change my view a little bit here. No, I don't want that. Don't want that either. Okay, we'll just leave it right here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. And there we go. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, good. So again, we're going to be trying to cover 3 large topics today, and I think what will happen is we'll rely on you to give us some feedback, some experiences you've had. James, you're going to be a great source of some information too, so make sure you speak out and let us know some of your thoughts on some of this as we go, and if you have some good ideas about some things too, okay? Okay, so we're going to work on this because really, as this first slide here talks about here, once we've made that sale, I kind of look at our business as kind of 2 different things, 2 big things: making the sale and then doing it so that you can make some money. And they're kind of 2 separate worlds in a lot of ways. And so we're going to kind of be focusing on that second part tonight. And so that's what this is. Once the work is sold, employee productivity, expense management become your largest contributors of profitability. And you could sell all day long and walk away with nothing in your bank. And unfortunately, that's just the case with a lot of people. And wouldn't you agree that we see that all the time when we deal with people, how there's all kinds of people out there who are struggling just because they have a poor handle on productivity and they have a poor handle on expense management. So those 2 things combined can really make the difference in a business. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about some practical things, and we're gonna give Dave the opportunity to do this. And he hasn't seen these slides yet, so I kind of maybe have them out of order a little bit, but we'll see how it goes, and we'll pick them up. So we'll talk about masking and taping a little bit. And the reason why we want to talk about this is because this seems to be one of those big topics, and chime in here if you agree, that have really kept people from really becoming more productive at what they do. And it also causes a lot of comebacks, because if they don't mask or do something right, they end up overspraying or doing something stupid.
Yeah.
So this is one of those topics that I think is really kind of important. So Dave, I'll turn it over to you. We have like a couple slides in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is, I wanted to just show you, this is the example of masking, but it could be masking gone wrong, right? This is paper, which is okay, but then you see 2 of the upper ones that are lighter color. Those are actually paper towels that just were rolled in there and added in, and just whatever they had, they masked this off. And you can see that there's some gaps here and there. And if you spray with something,
What's that? Is this you? Is this a picture from you, James?
I said, what could go wrong? No, it is not.
no, so this actually was in a training class. I remember I said, all right, guys, you've done it in the shop, so let's go ahead and mask. And they just started grabbing whatever and masking. And I was like, I said, I just let them finish. And then I took a picture of it because I was like, that's not going to fly. So it was a quick lesson, and they had to rip it down, at least the middle stuff, and then we had to redo it. But yeah, make sure that you obviously have the right product, and then you take the time to do it. Now, I don't want you to mask off too much, and I didn't have a picture of one that I had seen before, but I have been to jobs where they actually masked everything off with plastic, including corner to corner ceiling everywhere, like dextered out, and it's just too much. So then at that point you're wasting labor. Okay, so you've got to find that happy medium where you can mask off, and when you spray you feel confident it's not getting on the customer's furniture, countertop, or walls, but at the same time you don't want to kill yourself with labor. So and I know we've had conversations about this, and it's just, it will kill you right off the gate. So if it's taking you more than, I'd say, 6 hours to mask a kitchen off, you're taking too long. You're really just taking too long.
James, what are you seeing when you do it?
I'm sorry, you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking 6 to 10 hours is a long, long time. I never want to see plastic on the ceiling. I mean, other than what will go up there and stay, if it's 24-inch or 12-inch or something like that, I never want to see it. If it's overkill, is profit kill.
Yeah, and if you really feel that you have to overkill, then I would suggest breaking up the kitchen into like 3 sections. Do one section one day, and then take all the masking down. And then the next day do it, and then take the masking down. Because if you mask off the whole kitchen and it's sitting there for a couple days, 3-4 days like that, they can't use their kitchen. And then you know they're going to pick into it to grab a plate or this or that, and then you've got to mess with it again. Or maybe it pulls away, and when you spray you didn't realize it, and now you've got it on the wall. So then it becomes a, I blame you, they blame you, whatever. So it's just really good to try to get in and out of that as quick as possible. Okay, let's do another next slide. Let me go back. Oh, is that it?
Those are all the pictures you sent in.
Oh, dang it.
What were you hoping for?
Well, I thought I sent another one.
Which one?
Sorry, there was one that was masked correctly, but
Oh.
anyway, the other thing that I found is rolling is like if you're doing a lot of whites, a lot of grays. I'm teaching the class how to mask, but then I'm teaching them how to roll. And I'll tell you the reason why is on the boxes, the space that is visible after you get the doors on is pretty small. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if you have the right roller and you're using the tint base, you can make it almost look, really close to as good as spraying. And so we've done this with the last few classes, probably the last 4 classes, if I remember right. And we're getting done quicker. It looks phenomenal, and it's just less stress. It just seems like every time I teach a class and they start the mask, everyone gets stressed, and it takes forever. And so once we get there and we clean everything, wipe it off, take a lunch break or whatever, and then we just put a beaded tape around everything and we start rolling it, we're done. We're done with that box at the end of that day. And these are, you know what class is like. We're climbing all over each other. No one's, consistent and paying attention quite as well as you guys do. So I would urge you to get some good rollers and try this. And I would use these rollers. My favorite rollers are the one on the right, those little tiny ones. They're only like 3 inches long, maybe. Yeah, 3 inch. And they are so good. Make sure they say best or smooth for the paint to kind of smooth out. But also, it just goes quick. And those little containers right there, you just put the paint right in there and away you go. I'm sure you guys have maybe used them. If you haven't, get some. They're just phenomenal. And then you keep that little plastic roller, or keep the plastic handle, and then you can just pick up some more of the little rollers that go on there. But they do great for just about everything except for obviously the side panels. Those side panels, you're going to have to get a little bit bigger ones. So I would get those probably, I know I've got some 9 inches one on there, but I'd probably get the ones that are about 4 inches, and I just roll it on there and it looks really good. Even though you do a big panel, it blends in really well. Just make sure that you get enough of the product on there when you roll it, so you don't roll it and then it creates a bunch of bubbles. Okay, so make sure you're working it back and forth. Get a lot of product on there first, and then go from there, and you should be in pretty good shape.
James, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna say, what were you doing on the side panels? For instance, we're starting a job that, you know, there's a lot of side panels that are huge, big, you know, 84-inch
Right.
top, 36 inches wide. You know, that's.
Yep. We had a guy from New York in our last class, and he told us we're full of crap. We can't do this. And you guys haven't met Cole, but Cole just was like beside himself. He's like, just step aside and wait. And we did it. We got all done. And then the guy was like, oh, okay. So it worked out pretty good. So what I would suggest is get some of these rollers and do a big door or a big panel at your shop, kind of practice with it a little bit. And you'll see that, you know, because you're going to have to roll, you know, 3 coats. If you do a primer coat, you're going to have to roll at least 2 coats of the tint base over the top of it, and it'll blend in nice. And then you put your finish over the top of it.
So what's the benefit, you know, do you have maybe some idea of how much quicker that might be versus spraying it? Because I mean, obviously the masking, this picture tells a whole story here. I mean, look how little masking there is done on it.
Yeah, when you spray the cabinets, it takes you about, I don't know, 3 to 5 hours of actually spraying the color on there. So let's say you got your tint base or your primer on there, then you've got to spray everything, and you'll do a couple coats, and you can get zipping along pretty good. But then the problem is, it's not that, it's the masking. So I'm saving at least 4 hours easy to roll. It just is.
Yeah.
And I would get rollers and also some smaller paint brushes, little 1-inch paint brushes, 2-inch paint brushes. They're great to do, you know, corners, crown molding, whatever. But I also want you to see that, you know, the staining pads in the middle of this picture, we've all used those. They are phenomenal to put tint base on and hit your crown molding. So, you know, the crown molding always has a little bit of a ridge in there or something, so you can't just roll it just flat. These work really well to push that color into that wood grain, and then also get into all the ornate corners and what have you. So those work really, really good. So let's say you get done spraying something and you go shoot the crown molding. I can still see some grain or maybe a side panel. Put some of your tint base on that staining pad and wipe it. It'll go away, and it's virtually streak free. It looks really good. So if you haven't tried that with the tint base, definitely do it. It'll change your world.
Yeah. So, you know, kind of bringing this around a little bit here, you know, we want to reduce time and reduce comebacks. And this to me is just one of those ideas that I think could really save a lot of time for you when you're in these houses. because masking is one of those things that, I mean, there's some people we've talked to that take days to
Yeah.
mask a kitchen, and that's a long time.
Jen, do you have any comments on that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, do you see some value to this?
Oh, a lot of value. Actually, we just did a master vanity yesterday and did a white tint base, and I was like, we could have done this yesterday. I mean, it didn't take us a horribly long time to tape just because it's a master vanity, but still we could have just rolled it on. With rolling, are you saying only roll on the boxes and still spray doors?
Yes. Yeah, I still think it's a lot faster to spray the doors.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yep.
Quentin?
Yeah,
So, the brushes, I've never had good luck with brushes. I'm using little foam brushes, but I've never had good luck with our actual paintbrush. Is that what you're using, Dave?
Yeah, so get a good paintbrush, get a good Wooster, or what's the other one that the Purdy? Get a good Purdy. I know they're expensive, but just make sure you clean them out and use them. And I'll do a lot of crown molding with those. Anything small or in the nooks and crannies, as long as it's a good one, you'll be in pretty good shape.
so,
Well, interesting, because it seems like to me it's so thin, it just runs.
Yeah, it should. Now, if you're doing deep tint, you may run into that, but the white and the medium should stay perfect. I've done it with both the white and medium, a gray and a white, and works wonderful. So, but I'm not a big fan of using a paintbrush on the deep tint.
Okay, good.
so let me ask you one thing too, Dave. So you're saying that this is really good, like on opaques. We're not going to do this with a renewal?
Yeah, we're not doing it renewal. We're not using it on the one step. Yeah, it's only the tint base, the white and the medium.
Okay.
And you're rolling both the tint base and the finish coat?
No, the finish, I'll hand apply the finish, because obviously it's not masked off the spray, right? So I'll hand apply it, but you always have to hand apply the matte finish, because it's the lowest sheen level. And if you're looking for a satin look and you spray your door satin, then it'll match up really close. The matte hand applied will match to your satin sprayed. So it's always just a little bit shinier when you hand apply it. So get a lot of matte and just have the matte around, and you'll find that you'll use far less product when you're hand applying it, and you actually get a better protection on there, because I think it goes on a little bit thicker, because you can put it on thicker than spraying it. And you won't run into really rough side panels. You know how you spray and you get done and you're just kicking your trash. Well, if you hand apply a matte and put it on there, it will be nice and smooth.
Yeah, and I think that saves you some time too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I think when we're looking at numbers here, think about this for a second. When if you move to rolling and you're doing it this way and you're saving those hours, I mean, you could potentially cut, as little as a couple hours, but you could be cutting out maybe half a day to a full day of masking using this process. Think about what that costs you if you have to work those hours and you have to pay somebody to do it. You have to use all of the masking consumables, paper, tape, all that kind of stuff, and the van fuel and all of the different expenses that go along with this. Those are the things that are really going to start eating into your profitability. Here's a big one that a lot of people don't think about, because I think it's just part of the job. Overtime is one of those killers that really kill people's profitability. They just think that it's part of what they do. In reality, managing that overtime is a lot more important than maybe what you think it is. I think masking this way and doing some of the things that Dave's talking about here is one of those things that's really going to help out people pull back some of that overtime, pull back some of that even that just regular payroll, inventory, all of those things that are all part of your expenses. So I hope that's helpful to you. Dave, is there anything else that you want to say about rolling it? And
No.
is there any questions?
Nope.
James, any question you have?
Yeah, that's good information. I used to roll a lot, but I don't roll so much anymore. Definitely regret.
Yeah, try it again on a small vanity, or go down and pick one at Habitat for Humanity. Do a side panel, and you'll see what I mean. I think I was nervous about it. I thought, man, I don't know if I can get that look. And I think the first time I tried it, I just didn't have the right rollers, and so I just nope, I'm going to spray it. But then as I kind of honed in on the right rollers, one roller you don't want to get is Home Depot has a Wooster roller, and it says for smooth surfaces. Do not get that. I think it's like a charcoal color. It is terrible. It's terrible. So just stick to these little ones or the bigger ones of those. And also the foam ones actually work really well, but they don't work well with primer. So don't, because the primer kind of eats at the foam. But the tint base works really well. And so yeah, give it a shot. And if you're still having troubles with it, give me a shout.
Yeah.
If I can just butt in here, we've been using those foam Pro. It's an Amazon product, little 10 packs or something like that, the Foam Pro, and we really like them.
Nice. Foam Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah. The foam ones did really well. Again, you've got to really make sure you saturate that roller before you roll. Otherwise, the rollers will leave those air bubbles all around.
Cool. Good. I hope that helps. I want to see you guys. I'd love to see you guys trying some of this out and seeing if you can reduce some of that time that you're spending on the front end of this job, because really, the money part of the job is the final finish, right? Because that's what the customer sees, and that's kind of what they are hoping for, is to see a really a great finish on it. And so I think setting this up and saving some time is going to be really a great thing for you guys to do. So I hope you guys try it out. Let's talk a little bit. Let's change subject unless you have some questions. Any other questions that you have on this? Nope. Okay. Let's change subjects just a little bit, because I want to try to hit some of these things. And remember, all of this stuff is, we're just kind of hitting the tops of the waves, right? We're not really, in the trenches here talking about some of the stuff. We're not doing it with you and things like that. So when you do this, use this as a resource. Call us, talk to Dave, talk to myself, or whoever, and let's work through it. I was just talking to a franchisee the other day who had literally over $35,000 worth of business sold for this month, and he had to give almost half of it back, or not give it back, but he had to cancel and reschedule about half of it because he couldn't see a way to get through some of the problems and obstacles. And all he had to do is really just pick up the phone and talk to one of us. And when we could have really, coached him through some of that stuff. So don't be afraid to call us. Don't be afraid to send us a message or something, and we're more than happy to help out. And I know Dave feels the same way about this too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't let pride get in the way. If you think it's a stupid question, it probably is, but let's at least get the right answer so it's out of the way and we're in a good spot.
Dave, there's no stupid questions.
I'm good at asking stupid questions.
You never ask any stupid questions, Jennifer. You're always got good ones. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about your employees a little bit. I think this is an important thing, because we want to make sure employees are operating, and Dave and I are going to kind of tag team on this a little bit, because we've had some experience with this. We've helped people bring employees on and try to get them up to speed, and up to speed to us is proficient at what they do and independent. So being able to work independently, but doing it at a fairly good pace, getting better all the time, and adding to the bottom line of your business. We've found that there's been a lot of people, a lot of franchise owners who feel such an urgency about their business that they don't allow their employees to really grow. They just, they come in, they do all the grunt work, but the real meat of the work is still done by the owner. And James, I know you don't do that, do you?
I've been known to do that, yeah.
And that's okay to an extent, but when we talk about really moving our business forward and really making some money and putting it in our pocket and our bank accounts, we're talking about you as the owner being the owner, being less of the operator and being more of the owner. And one of the ways that the only way that you're going to do that is if you get truly employees who can work independently, who can do the things that they need to do. So Dave and I have talked about this quite a bit. We have some ideas on some stuff that I think is important to get your employee to that point. So one of the things that I'll just share with you a quick story. I was working with a franchisee the other day. We hired a new employee, and I made a deal with him. I said, I'll hire this employee for you if you let me bring on and train this employee. And so we brought this employee on. We went through a 4-week training with a checklist. And if you need these checklists, James, I don't know if you know anything about this or not, but we have, and it's good for existing employees already to make sure that they know everything they need to know. But we have a checklist that you can use to make sure that your employees know everything that they're supposed to do. Well, we got them through this in 4 weeks. It didn't mean that they were experts at what they were doing. They just were familiar with and knew how to do most of the things that we wanted them to do within that 4 weeks. And we set some boundaries that they were able to do certain things and they needed to be proficient and sign off on certain things so that the owner didn't just say, hey, you know what, let me just do that because I can get it done a lot quicker than you can. And that happens so much, and that just puts a little bit more of a noose around your neck every time you take that away from your employees. And so what we wanted to do is talk a little bit about making sure that your existing employees as well as new employees that you bring on, that there is a very specific onboarding process or a training process to help these employees out. Dave, you've seen some of this around before. So.
Yeah, it's listen, guys, we get it. You're busy. You throw someone in there and figure, okay, we'll get them trained on the job, and then you realize, holy crap, if I had them trained right, this would have taken half as long. And but you never get around to stopping and say, okay, we've got to get you trained. You just think that hands-on training does it, and it doesn't, because a lot of employees don't retain it the way you do. Because remember, they're just a tech. They go back home, they don't care what's going on. You guys are the ones with doing all the heavy lifting and the worry. So you got to get them trained correctly, otherwise it's just going to kill you.
Yeah. And so available to both of you, if you want us to, just let us know. But we will send out whatever process sheets you need for each type of job, and we will send out any type of checklist that we have available for bringing your employees up to speed. And it's good for not only new employees, but for existing employees. So there's one aspect of business that I think is really important that we don't ever really talk about a whole lot, especially here in Enhance. But if you go into a lot of the corporate world out there, there is, it's not necessarily a saying, but a notion that your employees are your biggest asset. They have to be the people that you put the weight of your business sometimes on their shoulders. And the only way you're going to be able to do that so that you're free to do what you need to do is to get them trained, working independent, and feeling accountable to what what you expect them to do. And that's tough to do. That's really hard to let go of that. But if you provide a place for employees to do that, and we can help you with that along the way. And one of the things that I would suggest is to get your employees to be as productive as they possibly can, so they're taking less time to do the job and they're doing it the right way. And on top of that, they're working independently. Work with us. James, Jennifer, whoever is listening to this, when you have employees that you feel are not working to their best potential, it may not be them. It may just be that you don't know how to get the best out of them, right? And that's okay, because that's the way it is with a lot of people out there. But if we include more people on this, such as Dave and myself, I think we can help you get more out of your people so that you're saving less money and time and heartache and anxiety and all those things that go along with it, and getting good people working for you. I mean, you hired these people for a reason, right? Everybody that you have working for you, you saw something that you liked out of them. So now it's a matter of getting them to perform at the level that you want them to perform at. James, any ideas on that or any thoughts that you've had? You've been around for a while.
Probably a smart aleck, but I think the best thing I can do for one of my guys is for you to provide me with a best practice process sheet to help me find him a better job somewhere else.
Okay. So, and that's not a bad thing to say. I mean, what you're trying to say is, here's all the things that you're responsible for, and you're really only executing a small percentage of those. Is that right? Maybe this isn't the best thing for you.
Yeah.
Next month, he will have been working for me for a year, and he was good up until like 3 months ago, and it's just been mistake after mistake after I forgot, and I'm at the bottom of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one thing that, like Dan was saying, that plan that we put them on and we kind of follow up with them, it gives them, it holds their feet to the fire, and it's not you that's enforcing it, it's us.
Yeah.
And it's themselves. And so they can plainly see, yeah, I didn't do a good job. And then they go, all of a sudden we're like, yeah, how long do you think you're going to be working there? Or have you been looking around for another job? I mean, we can be pretty blunt with them, and then you can just act like you didn't even hear that we had the conversation, and then we can talk and then let them know, like, hey, and then you can say, hey, I heard you had a conversation, how'd that go? And they can tell you, yeah, I'm not in a good spot or whatever. And you could also say, hey, they're going to share me the results in a week. How do you think you did? And it's easy, because then it's all back on them. That now it's not, well, I'm showing up because James is so busy he can't afford to fire me, even though he hates my guts. He's not going to fire me, And so this way, it kind of, you can say, hey, HubSuite's saying you're not cutting it. So it sounds like to me like we are going to probably part ways, but I'm going to let HubSuite kind of figure out what they want to do. And it just makes it easy. Makes it way easy.
Well, another thing, James, this is what I really like too, is if you start bringing some structure to your employees' day-to-day routine, there's two things that happen there. There's some accountability that happens, which I really like, because I feel like they have something they have to attain every day. And so most people thrive in that type of an environment. Some people don't. But most people will thrive in that type of an environment. You may find that this guy, that's what he needed to turn him around. Maybe he's still a good employee for you. It's just that maybe he's not being challenged the way that he needs to right now. And so that's what's so good about having this process of being able to layer in all of these things for your employees to help them to get to the productivity level that they need to. So it's about training, and I think I have actually a list of a couple things here. There's our onboarding checklist, which is really just a proficiency checklist. One-on-one progress meetings. That's either with you. I would do those regularly with people. Check in with them, see how they're doing. Let them know that you care about them and that you care about the work that they do. Those are all things that really make a difference. Set goals, how to hold them accountable, use process sheets, and really focus in on letting your employees find and use their strengths. Nobody does well when they feel like they're just doing stuff that they hate to do every day.
Yeah.
When they find that they're, oh man, I'm super good at spraying, man, I'd get them all over spraying because that's something that they're going to be good at, or put them in charge of it or something like that. But these are all things that help to bring money to your bottom line. Every time you have somebody who kind of sputters, who doesn't really work real hard or is not really engaged in their job, that's money that's just kind of falling out the bottom of your business, and it's not recoverable. You can't go out and find it. So we talk about process on the job, taping and masking. That's super important because that's going to save time. But think about it, if you had an employee who doesn't care, they're still going to take a long time, even if we find them a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to kind of couple these things together. We've got to take the processes and we've got to also take the structure that comes with helping employees understand what their roles are, what they're responsible for, and how to get it done. So that to me, I think, is one of the most important things that you're going to find, because as you look at your expenses, especially the expenses that are part of doing the job, tech payroll is number one, right? It's the biggest one. So if that's out of control, it's either because you have bad processes or you have employees that don't care, or a combination of both. So it can be as simple as that. And so it's a matter of really just kind of focusing in on those things and applying principles that work and are proven, and getting them to either turn around or go away. James, any questions on those? Or any thoughts? James, you still there?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just asking you if you had any thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I can definitely see setting goals. For instance, this guy I'm talking about, I've given him opportunities. You know, you're now in charge of putting signage in the yard, bringing in the laundry, making a list of, and he's been good up until like a couple months ago, and then it just, anyway, actually got him a checkoff list from Adam Blake, and I said, hey, while you read through this and put a check mark by the things that you think would help you to succeed. And he read through it and didn't mark one checklist on it. One check. That's not from you, Dave.
I've got a question for you. Have you had an opportunity, and this is not to put you on the spot or anything like that, but have you had an opportunity to just ask them, hey, what's going on? I've noticed the last 3 months, things haven't been going well. It's just me and you. Let's just talk about it. That's that one-on-one progress meetings that I'm talking about there. Those are so good to just pull somebody, aside, put your arm around them, because you're not, doing this in a aggressive way. You're doing it in a way to help him and the business. So, come together, meeting of minds, find out what's going on. And maybe he's just unhappy, ready to move on, and he just needed to tell you that. And now you can move on and find somebody else. Maybe it's something else that's holding him back, and you can address that. But you don't know unless you ask him.
I have talked with him about different things, and I've said, is there anything, do you have any kind of issues with memory retention? Yeah, I took, Ritalin when I was in school, but when I got out of school, I just quit taking it. And 75 years old, I wouldn't have hired the guy if I would have never going to be able to lead.
Yeah, but you said he was good up until about 3 months ago, so it can't be that.
Well, he forgets stuff. I just told him, I said, maybe you should, go back to your doc and maybe find some Ritalin, and maybe that'll help you remember,
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe, maybe it's just time to, like you said, maybe let's find a way to make it completely apparent to him that he's not cutting it, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that it's not working out with us, and we need to move on. And we can help you with that, James. I'm more than happy to help you with that.
Well, I'd love to see your checklist and things like that. I'd love to see these process piece of things we've got definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I will. I'll write you down, and I'm sure, Jennifer, you want these too, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Jennifer, how's it been? I mean, I'm not meaning to single you out, but how's it been? We had a good visit, a couple months ago, or a month and a half, whatever.
Yeah.
And we had some strong, or we had a pretty strong visit about things in front of your tech.
Mm-hmm.
How's he doing? At first, he kind of had his arms crossed, but I don't know.
Since I would say he was doing better before the holidays and stuff, then we took a long break over the holidays where he didn't work for a good 4 or 5 weeks. And then he's come back and he's moving pretty slow. but we also don't have a ton of work right now. So it's kind of one of those like, I need him to work a little faster, and we had the conversation today because there were some doors that I was like, I want to be able to have these done by the end of tomorrow, these doors. I want him to have them done. And because there's a possible job that we might be getting we're getting an answer on Saturday, and they want us to start Monday. So I need to have these doors that we currently have done so that we can start a different job Monday. And anyways, got a little pushback. So
Hey, so something that I want to mention to you, Jennifer, and this is nothing but a very positive attribute that you have that doesn't necessarily always equate to good business practices. So, and I want you to take this the right way. You are a good person and you want to help people and take care of people. But if you prolong jobs because you don't have a whole lot of work left for somebody, that money that you collect for that job is just going to that employee or to whatever. It's not making sense fiscally for you. And I know that's tough. That's a really hard position to be in, but I want you to know that it's important to treat this like a business, because if you don't, the business won't be around to take care of you in the long run. And so these are all really important things. We want to treat our employees as they are the number one asset they are. So we have to find ways to really try to, help them through some of these processes and stuff. But at the same time, the way you run the business has to stay the same.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, I think I'm ready to like either figure out, is this employee, are they sane or not? Because we have someone else that's interested in a job, that guy that moved from Florida.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we have someone else that wants the job that we've been told is very efficient and knows the processes. So I'm like, do you want this or not? So.
Well, this list I have up on the screen right now is the list that you need to follow when it comes to, managing your people. Are they proficient? That's those checklists. Are you having one-on-one conversations with them and establishing what the goal is, what they need to be doing, and if they're not achieving that or if they are achieving that. Set those goals, make sure they're accountable, use process sheets on all of your jobs, and find ways to help them to feel good about what they do. That's using their strengths. And if you're doing those things and they're still not working out, then that's not necessarily your fault. That might just be the inability of that person to be able to execute that job. And that's when you can say to yourself, I'm ready to move on to somebody else. Okay? Good. Well, we're almost 10 to, so we have about 10 minutes. And so I'm going to hit a couple things on expense management, because it goes along with what we're talking about, right? We're trying to increase profits, and it's by finding better ways to do things. So we've talked about masking and finding a better way to do that. We've talked about employee management and using training and checklists and accountability and those kind of things to try to get more out of them. One of the things that I think is really important, as it says on the screen, is how do you set a budget? And specifically what I want you to do is, in your COGS, your cost of goods sold, there's a few different lines, and I have them listed here somewhere. So on this screen here, we have list of COGS. Within each one of those, you should have a limit of what you're willing to spend every month. Okay, so think about this. Most businesses out there have a budget of what they're going to spend on something. They have a marketing budget, they have whatever budget. You need to have a tech payroll budget. You need to have money that you're willing to spend on van fuel. And the reason why we do that is because that sets a limit or a cap on what you're able to spend. And that cap helps keep you, sometimes you may go over that cap, maybe sometimes you're below that cap, but at least it's something that helps keep it at the forefront of your mind so that you're watching those specific expenses. I'm not asking you to watch all of the expenses of your business, but these specific ones are the ones that are variable. They're not fixed. So you have control over them. You can fix that. And I'm telling you, number one, tech payroll is your biggest problem that most franchise owners out there have, is controlling that number. I've seen some people who have almost 100% of their total revenue goes to tech payroll. So that they do $10,000 worth of revenue and they spend $10,000 on tech payroll. They can't spend, they don't have any money left over after that to spend for any other expenses, let alone money to put in their pocket.
Mhm.
So, you know, for a business owner, and this is something that I'm gonna probably just put on the shelf and leave it for you to think about, is how do we create those budgets? How do we live by those budgets? And how do we keep it so that we're keeping that cost down and we're putting a little bit more money in our pockets at the end of the month, right? So, and I'm just going to put this out there because I know there's going to be a lot of people who watch this after we're done recording this, this is more than just saying, hey, COGS are important. You know, expense management's important. This is really where you have the greatest control of your business, is by looking at the specific list of 6 things here. If you can control those 6 things, and specifically that tech payroll one, then you are probably going to have money left over at the end of the month. So that's one of those things that I think is really important. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, can I, for a second?
Yeah.
What I was just thinking about, that is your biggest expense, and it's almost like you can never say, hey, at the end of the week or at the end of the month, I know that I'm gonna pay him this or her this amount every time. It always kind of varies a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on your workload, or if I had to work longer with this or whatever. But think about what your tech, your problem tech, we'll call it the problem tech. Think about what they're good at. Is there anything that they're good at? And can you have them work and do what they're good at, but the stuff you know they're not good at, you either do yourself until you hire somebody else, and then that way you're not wasting money. Like, oh shoot, I know he's not going to do a good job at that. Well, then don't let him do that. And maybe you got to say, hey, you're going to do this. I'm not going to want you to do that because for whatever reason this is taking too long, and you're just not getting it. So let me take care of that, or I'm going to hire somebody else to do that. You know.
And you're proactive about it.
Yeah, just be proactive with it.
So one of the things that I wanted to kind of go through is these are the percentages of your total revenue that each one of those should represent. And you can see tech payrolls is no more than 30%. If you're spending more than 30% of your total revenue on payroll, then you're spending way too much for your technicians. And that can come from a couple different things. Not enough business or revenue coming in. It could be not charging enough. It could be a productivity issue. So, you know, when we look at this at a high level, it gives us a great place to kind of look at our business and kind of dig in from there. And so I think one of the things, if I was a business owner, I would want to know every job is, am I spending more than 30% on this job? Is it going towards tech payroll? If it is, then I've got to look at something else. I've got to look at why it's happening that way. And if it's one thing or 5 things, I've got to fix those things because it can't be greater than 30%. In fact, I'd rather you be down around 25%, but 30% is really kind of the high end of that. And so, this is one of those things that I want you to really kind of look at and try to absorb. We've talked about masking, we've talked about, employee training and things like that. For you as the owner, managing that tech payroll, trying not to get into overtime, and keeping it under 30% will be one of the best things that you can do for the health of your business. Because from there, if you know your technicians are performing right and you're spending the right kind of money on it, then you can really kind of branch out from there and really take on the things that really are important to growing the business and things like that. But if you grow your business, you bring more revenue in and you're still spending more than 30%, it's still hurting you just as much as you did at a lower revenue. So you've got to kind of look at this as one of those things that you have to control. to really grow the business and add more money to your bottom line at the end of the month. Any questions on that so far? James, are you doing good with that?
Good information, yes. My wife's sitting right here, my beautiful President's wife.
Hi, Drew.
Et cetera, and he said that we are below 30% on tech payroll, so that just gives me goosebumps.
That's great. Love to hear that. And so what you want to do is you want to continue to do that, and you can forecast into the future. That was, I think, one of the things that we talked about here, or I was talking about was, you know, I have some other slides here about talking about forecasting. If I want to do $30,000 in revenue next month, I can say that's $9,000 in tech payroll that I have to spend, right? Because that's 30%. Or if I want to do 25%, it's whatever that percentage is. And so now we take it job by job, all right? If I have $9,000, how much of that am I going to spend on this job? Well, how much did I charge for this job? If it's $6,000, you know, 30% of $6,000 is $1,800, right? Now I know how much labor I have or tech payroll I can spend on this job. Not a penny more, not a penny less. I want to spend it because I can get the job done and I can do it right if I have my people trained in doing the things that they need to do. So I hope that this conversation is helping you guys to kind of see that there is a very on-purpose way of doing business. And it's just a matter of just having your hands on a couple different things. It's not a matter of looking at 20 different things that you have to look at. It's really about getting good at a couple different things right now. And so I'm going to encourage you and anybody else who listens to this to let's have deeper conversations about this. Let's look at some of the numbers of your business. And if you don't have the numbers, that's fine. We'll figure that out. I can help you with that. But really to move forward, to put more money in your pocket at the end of the day, because that's what it's really all about, is let's get in control of some of these things. Let's get more productive with our employees, and let's save more money on the back end through expense management. If we can do that, I think things are going to be a lot better for you guys. Okay? Any questions or concerns, Jennifer, James?
I would love to have a checklist.
Okay, I've got you down on my list to send that to you. So what I'll do is I'll send all of that stuff to both of you. And in that email, I'll just remind you that we can have a further conversation if needed about some of this. And then you can just call me or whatever. And I talk to you guys, both of you guys, fairly regularly. So, you know, just feel like this is something that we can talk about and we can go through. We're here to help you guys. We've owned businesses. We know what it's like. We've been on that side of things, and I think we can bring some value to your business for sure.
I'm definitely excited to try rolling.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, do it. We're getting, I'll send you some pictures of a kitchen that we just did, or I'll send them to Dan and you can send them over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. Every time that guy from New York said we couldn't do it when we got done, when he was quiet, that meant we did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it great to have Dave here tonight?
Absolutely.
We love Dave. We're happy that he's joined us and is helping us out with this webinar, and grateful that Enhance let us steal him for the night. So anyway, if there's no other questions or concerns, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But thank you for all the work you guys do. You guys do such a great job out there, and nobody ever thanks owners because you're basically at the top of the chain. But we thank you guys because we know how hard it is and we know what it's like to own businesses. So you guys keep doing such a great job, and if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know, okay?